Hey Ian, you ready?
You bet I am. What are we talking about tonight? And talk about guns?
If it's not a 30 cal, I'm not in.
Jeez, mate, that's not very inclusive. Have you seen Jono?
Hey Jono, you ready?
Well, God knows where he is, mate. He's probably caught up in the neighbour's wire again. You ready to go? Let's do this.
Mate, I'm ready. Let's crank it up.
Righto then. Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Hunter's Campfire, where we're going to talk about all things hunting and the great outdoors. And we'll probably throw in a few tips along the way.
You want a tip? Say it once, say it 1,000 times. Goats love rocks.
Or a few things about deer. Mark, what do you reckon about deer?
As a deer hunter, I love hunting pigs.
Well, that's about as useful as I expected it to be. Oh, check it out. Here comes Jono. He's being chased by the neighbour's dog.
Okay guys, let's get this started. Welcome to the Hunter's Campfire. Pull up a chair, get comfortable. It's time for the Hunter's Campfire. And good evening, Jono. How are you?
Yeah, good, Mark. Really good this evening, actually. How are you going? You feeling better?
Well, I want to talk about it in a minute. Tonight we have Ned with us from APDHA. Did I get that right?
Right.
Australian Pig Dog Hunters Association. For those listening, Ned's been on before, so he's a repeat customer. I suppose that's the way to describe it, something like that. How are you, Ned?
Happy as Larry, mate.
Happy as Larry. Good day. Before we get into talking about pig dog hunting, that's why we got Ned on tonight. Let's do it. You might notice that Ian's not with us. I think it's his
Wedding anniversary.
20th.
20th wedding anniversary.
It shows where his priorities. He's not here, but anyway, yeah. What are you going to do about
Well,
that?
he only he got told last night that it was his 20th wedding anniversary. Otherwise, he would have been here. And I think
That's
he would
right.
have been in
That
big
might
trouble.
have been a pretty uncomfortable podcast to be having. Okay, so let's do a quick around the trap. So anything new with you, Jono?
Well, so on the weekend, I met up with Ian and I shot the Benelli. So we went up
I saw the
to
pictures.
we went up to Caboolture Play Tiger Club and we did some shooting. It was good fun. Adam Long, who was on Operation Venison, the second slam type video that we did. Adam joined us as well. But yeah, I shot the Benelli. Shot really, really well. It's a beautiful gun. And I think I surprised Ian with my shooting because we had a little bit of a friendly competition going and we drew round 2. So we did 3 rounds. We drew round 2, 21 out of 25, which I was pretty proud of. And I think Ian was disappointed with, but we drew on that one. Unfortunately, he did beat me on the 3rd round, but I haven't shot this gun before. This is the first time I've shot it, and I haven't shot a shotgun in about a year. So I think I did it right. So,
Fantastic. Though I'm
but
good to
it's a
hear that
beautiful
Ian
gun.
got tested. And did one of the guys from the upcoming slam make it as well?
they did, yes. So one of your Team Dutchy members came around to pick up the ammunition that Brother
Thought
Australia sent through for us. So he popped around, and I believe he actually went for a shotgun shoot the next day. So I think
okay. There you go.
Yeah, we've passed on that shotgun bug as well. So it's going to be deer hunting coming up and shotgun shooting. So. And while we talk about that, we're actually a week away from the slam. It's a week tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right.
Week
You
Thursday.
I got my weeks mixed up then. Yeah. So it's not this weekend; it's next weekend.
Correct. So we're just over a week away.
That's
Yeah.
it. Okay.
How
Well,
about yourself? How are you going this week?
I've picked up COVID this week. That's the exciting, wonderful thing I've got. Got tested positive on Saturday, so I've been staying at home, and I'm not too bad. It hasn't been too bad, but that's been the bummer of the week. I was actually hoping to go out to Naya on Thursday, but I rang him up and said, "Look, you don't need me to come out to your wonderfully new modern workplace with COVID, so I'm sticking at home because I'm desperately want to get a clear for the weekend so I can get ready to go for deer hunting the following weekend." So that's my boring news. I've got COVID. So, anything happening in your neck of the woods, Ned?
Well, a lot of the same thing. It's we're working on a couple of projects, mostly to do with research. We've become obsessed with research because we've found that for pig hunting, that's given us a much louder voice in a very short time, and that's always our concern. Is apart from getting out for a hunt, is trying to change some of the stereotypes, I guess, that are associated with pig hunting. It's very easy to see pig hunting in a particular light, and we like to make the point that there's a lot more to it than people might imagine. So, but it is an extraordinary amount of work. It's all volunteer work, but at the moment, it's taking me about 30 hours a week, all unpaid, to run the pig comp, and I've got a great offsider in Mark Beattie, who's the Queensland president of the APDHA, and he's doing between 20 and 30 hours a week as well. So I'm not having a lot of fun, but getting a lot done.
Well, I think that's a good. Let's give that some grounding. So, Ned's association is running the Great Australian Pig Hunt, and how long's that been going for?
We started on January 1.
How long's the hunt? January 1?
January 1 we started, and it runs until the 31st of December.
Oh, wow.
We've just got out of the phase of making it up as we go along, because we put it together in about 3 days before January 1, and that included getting about $40,000 worth of support from the hunting industry in terms of prizes and things like that. And that's been a real eye opener for a few politicians who've been following us. They didn't really understand, I think, how much what hunting was worth to a lot of companies. But we run it on a month-by-month basis. It's all lucky draw prizes, like a lucky draw prizes, I should say. So that there's nothing. It's not at all about who can produce the biggest pig and who's the most fabulous pig hunter or anything like that. It's about the data. We want the numbers. We want to know how many pigs people are catching, and a few other details, so that we can form that up into a big package and tell the world about it.
Yep. I think the data, what's really, one is, to be honest, Sammy from Beretta leaned on me and said, have you spoken to Ned about this pig hunting yet? I said, I will, give me a chance. So that was part of it. But what I really like this idea of you're running with the citizen scientist idea. I think that's a fantastic idea. And I'm very much interested in how we can advocate for hunting. And I think that's what you're doing there is really quite interesting. I mean, there's been pig hunts before, there's one that was run out of Gympie a couple of times, and there's one up north, one in North Queensland. But what you're doing is slightly different with that data. Do you want to give people, an understanding of what you're doing in that particular space? Because I think that's really quite interesting.
Yeah, well, that's the absolute point of it all. It's not about, we're not raising money for a school or something like that. So we got a bit of advice from some smarter people than us. We don't presume to be statisticians or have a scientific background, but where the germ of the idea came from was at the Feral Pig Conference in Cairns last year. I had a 5-minute, block on there at which to talk, and I ended up with 3 minutes. And you can't say a lot in 3 minutes. But we talked there about the potential for hunters to be used in as data gatherers, because they're having contact with millions of animals every year, and they're doing it for nothing. And they're looking to be involved. They want to be relevant. They want to be a part of society. and they're looking for ways to communicate on the same level. Now, at that conference, that very, very brief chat attracted a lot of attention from academics in the audience, because they just went click, bang, data. Yep. And they came to me and started saying, how many pigs would you come across, and what, can you get organised, and all this sort of stuff. What I'd call the pest animal establishment hated what I was saying, and they were courteous, but just not interested at all. They've got their own sort of set of values, their own systems, and that's what they're focused on. Academics, told us lots of good stories, told us how they'd use pig hunters to do this and shooters to do that, and that was the best way that they could, that they, as people trying to study things, could get information, because they want a body in front of them. However, for them to do that was incredibly expensive and time consuming, and to round up all the people on the right day, and they weren't having a day off and all this sort of stuff. And they said, okay, well, think about it more, because we're interested. So it took me a long time to sort of work out what to do. But anyway, a few of us were talking, a couple of us were talking just before January 1. We're not getting where we want to be. We're not getting the hearing where that we think pig hunting deserves. And we tried a few different things to engage with other hunting organisations and all that sort of stuff. And we were sort of expecting to have researchers come knocking on our door. Nobody came, and we just were feeling a bit isolated, and we just went, right, we've just got to do something. So we invented the Great Australian Pig Hunt, and the objective is to have hunters motivated to tell us each month how many pigs to register their interest for a start. That gives us a base number. Then to log in how many pigs they get. There's an option to provide a photo of the pigs, and we don't care whether they're big, small, little tiny babies, great big boars, whatever, send us a photo when they log it in, and we've got a system. We had to work out how to do that. We had to, we're not great computer guys, but anyway, so we found a way of doing that, setting up the form and all this sort of thing. And then we had to answer a few questions. And so part of that was, what local government area are you in? So that we could develop some sort of picture of areas where there might be more pigs than others. We haven't got a market for this information yet, but we just think if we build it, they'll come. Whether the pigs are male or female, whether they're breeding age or not. And we worked out breeding age. We'd work out just on, does it smell like a rank boar? And even little boars will smell like that if they're sexually mature. And is the sow 30 kilos live weight or better? In which case, so they only have to be about 25 kilos to reproduce. So we just thought 30 kilos, that'll be, and we took a bit of advice, and they said that'll be close enough. That'll give us a picture, and things average out over the number of people we might be dealing with. So we opened the doors, and we got X number of people registered, and then there was quite a flurry of activity. Everyone's quite excited. We said what we'll do is we'll give $1,000 sort of main prize each month, and then sponsors would provide a second prize and a third prize, that $1,000 prize could be, the first one was $1,000 worth of diesel, and that's always going to get a pig hunter's interest. But we've got Beretta, of course, have been a great sponsor. They've come on to cover 3 months. We've got a few other people like Calibre Country that are there every month, and with a final prize. We've got the Fire Stick people with a great thermal prize and things like that. So we've got some big names, and we've got lots of other, like the first $1,000 diesel prize was one of our members. He just contacted us and said, right, I want to get involved. Turns out he's a lot more successful in a business than I realised he was. And he just said, no, it's all right. We'll just $1,000, we'll do that. And I was just sort of blown away because we weren't expecting that. But we've got, other suppliers, and we've got Garmin, and I shouldn't have named anyone because I don't want to leave anyone out. But anyway, want to be insulting, because we're grateful for them all. But anyway, so we ended up after the first
Mate,
month.
you can send us a list and we'll drop it in. We'll put them all the names in the list. So don't worry about that. If you don't have to remember them tonight.
People have been knocking on the door to help, and we really appreciate it. But what happened was we ended up with so we've got the number of registered people, then we have the number of people who actually hunt in a month, and that gives us a participation rate. So that's a key figure. So we were told that would be a key figure, and we'd find out as we went along. And we could say, that there's X number of pigs in these areas, and there's the male and female and the breeding ages and things like that. That is all statistically relevant to someone who knows what they're doing with it. We're just gathering it up. We're just cutting the firewood. We're not starting the fire. We're just cutting the firewood and stacking it up. So we've just finished our 5th month, and what we were able in that process, we made a very good friend for us, a professor who came on board through another contact we'd made when we'd been working with in emergency animal disease preparedness stuff in Queensland, and we said we need someone who's just can look at what we're doing and tell us whether we're making fools of ourselves or whether this is useful. And he said, yeah, they said, call this guy. So we were introduced, we got on the phone, and he started sort of talking to us, and I just thought straight away, right, this is going to work. Because nearly the first thing he said was, what can you get? I said, we can get any information you want. You just tell us what you think is valuable. And so that was at the beginning of February, and we changed our questions slightly because he said to us, data is what you want. You want as much data as you can from the minimum contact with your people. Don't be chasing them around and getting them filling things later. Get them to do it all at once. And he said, because I want data. He said, you know how you think about pigs? And I said, yes. And he said, well, that's how I think about data. I want more data, bigger data. He said, more data over that next hill. Why is all the data over there? Could there be some over here? He said, oh, that's how he thinks. And I went, right, okay, I understand what you're thinking about. Good, let's do that. And then we started going, can we use, our data here to compare to other data? And he said, oh, yes, you can. He said, you can infer things from what you're finding based on what's been found out before. He said, but, that's all got to be subject to scrutiny. People have got to be able to look at it and go, how did you get from A to B? You seem to have gone wildly over here. And I said, okay, so how would we do that? In the end, we ended up with some formulas that we can use, using some estimates of how many pig hunters there are in Australia. And we'd done work on that ourselves, so we sent that to him. And he said, look, that's as good as I would have done. He said, but that's, people are going to challenge that. I said, good. Well, we'll stand any challenge, not to be proved right, but we'll just get better at it. If we get challenged and some expert says, should have used a factor of 3 here, great, that's what we'll do next year. But just because we're just learning.
Sure, okay.
So bring it on. But what's happened then is we've come up with some extraordinary numbers to how many pigs are getting killed by recreational hunters in Australia. So, for instance, at the moment, based on our hunting exercise here has shown us that the average among our people who are competing, the average for the first 5 months yield of pigs per month is 17.39 pigs per hunter. It's been bobbling around between 17 and 19 pigs per month. And that doesn't seem high if you see some of the movies or listen to some people talk about their great weekends.
Oh, no, mate, that's a lot of animals.
Well,
it is. If you're going out every week, it's 4 weekends.
Yeah, well, and it's like hardcore people who are catching pigs are catching way more than that, way more. But the reality is that that the participation rate is hovering at around, it's hovered between 40% and about 23%, depending on the month. So some months have higher, participation rates than others. So what it sort of taught us is that pig hunters aren't nearly as active as the image of hunting, and as Facebook and other social media sites would have us believe. And so we looked at that, that number of pigs per month, and we went, yeah, that sort of rings true. When you think about the average sort of person, and you can't judge it by your hardcore guy that's out there 3 nights a week, and going all night or whatever, or like who's 18 and doesn't need sleep, because although the bell curve on pig hunting is about 18 to 32 and mostly male, there's still 64-year-old guys going, and sometimes you have a dry run. If you have a dry run, well, that knocks your average down. So we think we're about right with the average per month. What we do then is we get the estimate of how many pig hunters there are in Australia, and the lowest estimate's about 125,000. If we know the participation rate for each month, say the participation rate is 22%, it's 22% of 125,000 times 17.39 pigs a month, and that gives us a figure. Now, so what it's ended up with, in the first 5 months, the estimate nationwide is that recreational hunters have killed about 3.1 million pigs in that time. Now, that has a couple of significant implications, one of which is, how many bloody pigs are there? If
stop killing all the pigs.
You're making more
because there's still tons
he wants
of
to
pigs.
shit them.
And if recreational hunters, based on some of the lowest estimates we can do, are killing about 3.1 million in 5 months, you'd think, well, they'd have to kill 6 million in the year. So still
you could extrapolate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could easily extrapolate that to it.
Go on.
Yeah, look, mate. I've got lots of questions, so you keep going because I want you to when you have a breather. I got lots of questions.
Don't be afraid to jerk my lead though, because I will not shut up otherwise. So that's one thing. How many pigs are there? Because the estimates are wildly varying. Pardon me. But then the New South Wales government has in the past initiated several economic studies on hunting, because we have a regulated public land hunting system in New South Wales, of which you'd be aware, and
correct.
Your viewers would be aware, your listeners would be aware. And people sometimes balk at that, the regulation, and, we don't want the government in our lives. One of the greatest things that's ever happened to hunting in New South Wales is that regulated public land hunting system, because it created a department of people whose job it is to measure that, count the things, So they come up with ways of providing information. So they've had a couple of good surveys, good economic surveys. One of them famously, of course, showed that the value of hunting in New South Wales was in the top 4 primary production economic drivers in the state.
Primary industry production, yeah.
So recreational fishing was 1 or 2. Beef was 1 or 2. Us hunting with recreational fishing was 1, no doubt. We varied between 3 and 4 depending on which count you did. I can't remember what was, but we were ahead of wool and all sorts of grains and all sorts.
Some years you're in front of sheep. Yep. Yeah, we often use those that in conversations. Yeah,
one of those figures.
And Victoria produced not the same, but a similar thing.
Yeah, one of those figures that came up specifically went on how much different types of hunters spend and how ardent they are. Now, pig hunters were twice as ardent as other hunters. They would go out twice as often, according to the studies they'd done, as other hunters. As an individual, they're going out twice as often. And gave us a figure that we were able to sort of, we had to use all our fingers and toes, but we came up with a figure from that research that had standing costs and then hunt costs per month was about $1,000 and something or other dollars per month. So then we were able to go, okay, each month, the value, of these hunters, the number of hunters who are hunting and whatnot, multiplied by that average figure, would turn out to be X amount. So nationally, in the 5 months, it's $185 million plus has been spent on recreational hunting,
Just from
according to what we've gathered so far. Now, people may take issue with that. Good, take issue with it, come up with a better way of measuring it. But what we're trying to use is all the established information, and we're happy to be proven wrong because we're trying to find how do we measure this. But imagine if that's even half right. That like if we're only 50% accurate, it's still that massive numbers. We end up with a figure. It costs every pig hunter at the moment. The average is $58.14 to catch one pig. So that's what they're paying into the economy every time they go pig hunting.
I want to ask a question specifically about the data and the activity itself. But before we do, something that around, and as I said, I talked about before we were on air, one of the things I'm writing about for, I think it'll be in October and November, is that the other interesting economic component to hunting is that if you say you own if you are a four-wheel driver, you probably own camping gear. You may own fishing rods and boats, and you might own a firearm. If you're a fisher, you got fishing gear. You may have a four-wheel drive, or you might not. You may or may not have a lot of money spending camping gear, and then you probably may or may not have firearms. If you have firearms, you probably have a four-wheel drive. You probably have camping gear. You probably have fishing gear. And you're not even then considering if you're into dogs and if you're into this and that and that and that and that. And in that financial industry, that market, the hunting market, as the hunter as a consumer in the recreational market, you probably find that the hunter, the firearm and dogger owner are the best multi-category client there is. From a marketing point of view, we are the perfect client because you can dangle any shiny thing in us and we'll buy it.
We're going to buy it.
Oh, new lures, yeah, sure. New rod, yeah. New bait, oh, yeah. Canoes, kayaks, e-bikes, yeah, mountain bikes. I'll try that, We're just this. So if you think about that expenditure, if you're identifying those people as spending that $58 on that, there is probably other parts of the hunting that they're spending money on as well, which kind of gets me to my question. With the people who are participating in it, I know it's through your association, but what about us rifle hunters who shoot pigs, or deer hunters who shoot pigs and things like that? Do you want to hear from them as well?
Absolutely. We've got what we call obligate shooters, and we've got bow hunters already involved. But this is open to everyone. The prizes are better if they're an APDHA member, but It's open to everybody. We absolutely want to know what people are doing. It's maybe this is a thing, when we do it in the future, that we involve several hunting organisations and it becomes a massive bloody exercise. And maybe the model works, but there are people we're missing. You know what I mean? That we haven't got every hunter in Australia who's involved in this.
Oh, definitely.
There's no question.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. The first thing is, after this, we're gonna promote it and tell people if you're out, because like we're going on a hunt next weekend called the Slam. You might not know it, but basically it's a thing that we invite listeners to, and we run as a competition, and it's who can get deer, goat, and pig in a weekend.
Yeah.
So we are going to particularly target pigs, and to be honest, I'm going to shoot pigs first, second, and third, because that's what I really like doing.
Mike loves the pigs.
I'm a kind of phony deer hunter. I just like deer because they might lead me to pigs. And I mean, when I go up in the Brisbane Valley, I'm hunting pigs, and our guys in state forests, they're knocking over pigs every time they go on a trip.
Yeah.
So if we can get that data to you as well.
Absolutely. It's free to enter. There's no cost to enter or anything like that. And anyone can win a prize,
Are you recording method of take? So are you saying it was taken with dogs?
So if I'm a rifle hunter, I can go in and say, I know I'm a member of the Pig Dogs Hunters Association, but if I wasn't, I could just still register and I can just give my details and say I was down at, Nundle State Forest looking for deer, saw some pigs and I shot them.
Yeah, how it works is it's just, you register, Bill Blogs, blah, 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 where are you a member? No, if they're not a member, that's cool. And then separately, when it's time to log in, there's the pig count form, and you put your name that you're registered under, so Bill Blogs, so that we can track you. Bill Blogs, when were the pigs killed? May 26, 2024, a little button you can press. How many pigs are you logging in? 16. How many male? 8. How many breeding age? 4. How many female? Right. That's down. What local government area are you in? So, Nundle would be Tamworth region, and that's a drop-down box. So you click on New South Wales, that's where I am. Right, and then you just drop down and go, Tamworth region. We've got maps that you can look at if you don't know for sure, they're all on that same page. And then you can upload a photo if you want. And we ask people, or we say to people, this is going to be used publicly, So, give us your first name, and we've got family groups and all that sort of thing. So we don't need details of the name of family names and things for photos. We've got little kids in them. It's just and here's Jim and
but I know what you mean.
Jenny, the child, and Fluffy the dog, or and he's we've got a heap more. We get the ones we get from Victoria, because you can't use pig dogs in a traditional way in Victoria legally. We've got a lot of photos come up there, pig with a beautiful rifle, line across it or something like that. Yep, they're up there. That's from Colac, bloody something or other region. Otway, I think it's Colac Otway region. We get a few from there. But we've had pigs from everywhere except South Australia and Tasmania. So WA, we've got pigs coming in, predominantly New South Wales and Queensland, but we get them from Victoria, we get them from the Territory, obviously, and we've got a small supporter base in WA. So long term, we'd want to get them from everywhere that they are, and we want to have anyone who wants to be involved. This has grown significantly from our point of view in terms of who is interested. So in New South Wales, say, we've got 6 sitting members of Parliament who ask for the information, and that goes to them. We've got that to us is gold. We've got it also goes to the LLS, the local land services. They have a staff member who's in charge of all the feral pig operation, a lady called Beck Gray. She can't use our information because in her count of pigs taken, because we're not best practice under the LLS system. But she likes to be kept updated, and she's very courteous and very respectful dealings with us. Sometimes there's a bit of not conflict, but different objectives with the LLS in New South Wales and pig hunters.
Yeah.
So there's been some challenges there, but we're both working on ways of finding the common ground. I'm on LLS regional pest advisory committees. We deal with Beck in particular there, but that's an example of people who are chasing that information. What they do with it all, don't know. I'm just fascinated that people are interested. We've got senior cops. We've got the pork industry, the commercial pork industry, very interested in the handling of feral pigs, because they have a mission in relation to emergency animal disease preparedness, because their whole industry depends on what diseases come in and that can possibly get into the feral pig population. We've been on tours of some of their facilities so that we understand what they do, and they'll have double perimeter fences. They use local pig hunters where they are. They'll have cameras on spots that on the outside perimeter fence that a pig will breach. Camera will go ding. They'll go, "G'day, Bill Bloggs, you fantastic pig hunter at so and so Upper Combukta West. We just had a boar come inside the perimeter. He's near Sector 5. Bill Bloggs heads out from home, goes to Sector 5, wrestles the pig, and it's gone." Now they like that because it's immediate, and you can imagine that a pig hunter jumps at that. Like, it's just, he's there. He's between two big fences. You know where he's come in. That's where he's going to want to come out. That's where they'll start, because he's going to come back that way.
That's right.
So they just cleared it up, and we were in this town having several meetings about African swine fever and things like that. We're on every committee that'll let us on to anywhere in Australia. We're on that committee. So we were up there, and they were talking about that and just going, "Oh, we love hunters," because they see hunters as part of the solution. So, they're involved. They're getting the data, and they're working out then, how is that relevant to them? So we've gone from being the red-headed stepchild to having finding a language we can use to communicate with people outside of hunting and outside of pig hunting in particular. That's the thing we're most excited about. Long term, we're going to look for grants or funding to keep this up, because we just cannot maintain this pace indefinitely. We'll do this for a year. We'll just do it. It's just an act of will. But so we're putting the feelers out now and just saying, okay, industry and does that, like, if you're serious about this, is the government interested? Is there a research group in a university that wants to do this analysis, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, we've got the 10,000 Ears program going too. But that's a whole other story.
So what's the 10,000 Ears program?
Part of our discussion,
I've seen this 10,000 Ears.
Yeah, the learned professor was. He said, "What will really excite researchers is the fact that you have bodies in front of you, because they can't get enough bodies to do enough sampling." And I said, "Okay." And I was imagining us in white coats with little vials and that sort of thing. I said, "What would you need from a pig?" And trying to work out what will a pig hunter what will a pig hunter actually do? To be part of this, and there'll be a limit, And he said, "Just the tip of their ear." And I said, "Right, tip of their ear. Like, what could you learn from that?" He said, "About 400 things." I said, "Are you joking?" And he said, No. He said, "If you can get a tip of
let's say that again. So when you mean tip of the ear, so if I'm going to nick an ear off, or do I nick both ears off?
No, just one
So
per
is it a
pig.
pair?
No.
One. So one ear, and how far from the tip?
About a 20-cent piece down.
Oh, okay. So you just want the top inch off.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yep.
And
Just
you
like
don't need both ears, just one ear.
Just one ear.
Wow.
What
Okay.
you need to do is, what I use is, I've got,
It reminds
this is not going to turn into some sick.
It reminds me of that old adage for the MCG, one carton per man per day. So one ear per man per day. That's it.
You've got to have a system though, because when you cut them off, it'll be
Okay.
psyched up, and it'll be, oh right, now we better get on. There's more pigs over there and whatnot. So my system, because I might be onto multiple pigs if I'm lucky in a row, and I'm just sticking these ears in my pocket. So how I do it is I go boar and sow, as words are, one's longer than the other. So boar is longer than sow. Right is longer than left. So boar goes in my right-hand pocket. Sow goes in my left-hand pocket.
Oh, okay.
And then that's breeding age goes in the front one. Non-breeding age, same thing, but back pocket. So then when I get back to where I've got somewhere to put them, which might be when I get home, not to sound gross, but I've slept in the swag with them in my trousers because I haven't had the bags with me, and I need to keep track of them. And if you leave them out, the dogs are going to get them, or a rat's going to get them, or a quoll, or something like that. So, you do what you got to do, but you've got to have a system. So that's my system. But ultimately, you need to put them in a paper bag, like a lolly bag.
Paper bag. I was thinking a sandwich bag. I was thinking I'd take a sandwich bag, handful of sandwich bags and a pen and just go, right.
Yeah, no, they'll sweat. So you got to dry them out.
Yeah.
Because they've got to go through the mail.
Dehydrator.
So you put them in a paper bag.
I know what to do. I'm going to go.
Well, we'll send you paper bags.
Keep going, buddy.
We've got a squillion paper bags, and you get a sticker too. You get a sticker if you're going to be in the 10,000 ears thing. You get a sticker that you put on your ute that says feral pig researcher, and then underneath it's got data collection vehicle. Now, if that doesn't get your chicks, I don't know what will. You'll be going through the drive-through, and they'll be, there you going, fella. I see you're
clambering all over the cow.
Or whatever it is your Queenslanders like. I don't know. I don't make any judgments. But so we're trying to make it a bit of fun for people. We've got about 500 ears here in my shed at the moment. So we want people to write on the bag, and this is all on our website too. They have to write on the bag the date, whether it's a boar, whether it's breeding age, or whether it's a sow, whether it's breeding age, and the nearest town. So not local government area this time, the nearest town.
Okay.
Because I asked him, what's one of these 400 things that you might be able to learn from the tip of a bloody pig's ear, Professor? And he said, well, we can learn a lot about, they do DNA studies, and we learn a lot about disease and disease history. But they can learn other things like, which pigs are related to which pigs, and sometimes they can tell there's one boar that's doing all the breeding. So there's one king of that little area, or all those pigs down that water course, which might be a river. Or it could be a drainage system. They're all related. Now, some of that information then helps them plan disease preparedness. So instead of, say, for instance, this is just a wild interpretation, but to try and draw a picture of what all that means, instead of going, right, there's a disease there on the map, instead of going circle, that's supposed to be a circle, circle around that, that's what we'll do. It might be a shape like that. If it follows
it might. That's right. It might be like a tail or something like that. Yeah,
that's right. Because that's where the landscape goes, and that's what shows those pigs are using that landscape.
That's right.
Forwards, and they're all related. These pigs here aren't even related. that's the sort of thing
Yep.
eventually they could learn. And all sorts of other stuff, who knows? Like, God only knows. He said 400. I don't think he was joking. He just said you'd be amazed at what we can learn and how it all they relate to one another and all this other sort of stuff. So that's all groovy.
So
we're not just handing that
apart
over.
from the joy of a sticker,
Yeah,
yeah.
Great joy of a sticker.
Apart from the joy of getting a sticker, how do we? So what's the process? I mean, so
get on our
we're
website.
going away, and I want to be part of this. So
Yeah. So well, all you have to do.
If we can't get any paper bags in time, if we can't get any paper bags in time, can I go into one of the local supermarkets and get the paper bags that they use you to sell mushrooms in and just grab a handle of them and shove them in my jacket and walk out? Will they be suitable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so I've got my paper bag.
You got your paper bag. It's the sort of paper bag you would have had your sandwiches in.
We nick the ear off.
Yes. In the paper bag.
Yes.
Have it texture.
So we nick the ear. We put them in the sandwich bag. Yep, right on what I reckon it's a boar. I shot it at, Bingerer, and it was a breeder because I could tell by his nuts. He's a breeder. Yep.
And the date.
I keep that safe somewhere for when I get home. How long do I let that sit before I send it to you?
Until it's dry. So you can tell how dry it is.
So
because some of the moisture will seep into the bag. If you stack them all together, they all join up and then they go mouldy. So you have to let them air.
Needs air.
And like on the floor of your vehicle is a good spot in the bag because it gets hotter than the rest of your vehicle, and they'll dry out faster there when you're driving backwards and forwards. But you've probably got carpet, so that mightn't work as well. But
vermin won't get to them either. I mean, rats won't get. If I put them in the shed, rats will probably get to them. So
so have baits out anyway. Like where I am, we're baited up all the time. We're still paranoid about the mouse plague, the most recent mouse plague. But yes, dogs, cats, rats, mice, crows. Blokes who put them on top of things. The dogs won't get them. Crows to put them. So we've lost hundreds and hundreds of them. But they will go mouldy. So you want to, and sometimes they're wet because they're bloody or they're in wet grass or something like that. You can pat them dry or something like that. Just speed up the process. But you'll feel them getting harder. Like you just go in and feel them. If they're like a chip, and they feel like they're hard, then send them. Even if they're a bit flexible, if they don't smell and they're sort of dry to the touch, well and good. Sometimes they'll stick to the bag. Don't worry too much because it's paper. They can just soak that off. Don't.
So I don't take them out of the paper bag. Once they're in the bag, okay, sure, okay.
Try to use a texter instead of a pen because it's more obvious at a glance. And
it won't punch a hole in the bag.
That's right. So, pardon me. So, if people have a look on our website, apdha.org.au, and go to the 10,000 Ears project, there's a picture of what the bags, what information we want on the bag, and all that sort of stuff. So you don't need to register for that. If you want the pack and the super, attractive sticker, people just need to send us either a message on Facebook or send us an email at info@apdha.org.au, and we'll send them out, a pack with 100 or so bags, because the object is to.
I'll do that, but
go on.
Yeah, we will do that most definitely. But I'm just thinking for us next weekend, so we get it before the bags arrive. We'll get ourselves sorted out. I see what you mean. Bags. Yeah, it is. It's like an old sandwich bag. Date, male, female, breeding age, yes, no, nearest town. Yep.
Yeah. So
that is very
it's
cool.
It's not a very complex thing, but it's excited some interest in the media and whatnot. And we were told when we're getting all this advice. it was wise advice too. They said, don't just be giving this stuff away. That's worth something to you. You have a resource there. You know, your data collectors with a resource, and you know, there'll be a university that wants to put a heap of PhD students through something or other. This could be one of the things, you know. And so they'll have grants, or they'll know who has the grants. And, you know, you guys are setting this system up. We talked today at committee level about, all right, do we set up a model for this and do it for other organisations as well? It could be about deer. It could be about whatever, you know. It could be about goats. You know, there could be anything. It could be about bunnies, whatever. It doesn't matter. You know, so we're not quite overwhelmed, but absolutely staggered with the amount of interest that it's generated. Now, not only from researchers, where, you know, my very witty and charming thing at the Feral Pig Conference, because we had special ties made that have got sexy pigs on them too. So we're very big on the visuals. That's what worked at the Feral Pig Conference, I think. But we got a great sort of rapport there with researchers. But now that we're actually doing this, it's not just a potential benefit; it's a genuine benefit, and that interest has expanded significantly from academics and researchers to a whole range of people that we didn't really imagine. But the political interest has been staggering, you know, which we think is a good thing because it's a platform for us to communicate. You know, we don't want more than anyone else. We just want to be heard. You know, we want to be counted in things. We want it to be included in decision making for our members. That's the reason we exist, is to look after our members. We try to look after our members by expanding our perimeter. You know, we try to look after all pig hunting of any description, so that we're not fighting right on our own perimeter. You know, we want to have that discussion way out here. So that's what's going on. It's a big project. It's a lot of work, but it feels like it's going well.
Because I'm down in the Pilliga in July, and, you know, there's a chance I get on pigs there. Some years you do, some years you don't. We're up in the Territory in September, mostly chasing buffalo, but we certainly seen pigs last time, and certainly, you know, shot pigs, so that will help with that as well. And we're driving up there and driving back, so bringing back stuff like that won't be a challenge. So yeah, mate, I'm
pig
very keen to help and also promote the hell out of it.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, so I mean,
Jesus.
You don't even have to shoot them.
Yeah, I can imagine that on there, and the cops just pull out. I got my bench mate. I'm just going, hey, I'm just doing some research here.
Yeah, well, you stick
See the sticker? See the sticker. Oh, okay.
We need a sticker. We need a sticker.
I'll probably put a sign on
sticker, buddy.
Just a straight path straight into Catherine or somewhere. It's look, it's a wild time. Like this is really fascinating. Like the implications of this for the longer term are really significant. In terms of being able to show who we are and what we do as hunters, you know, it's different things affect different people. So, say in the actual bodies that our guys have had their hands on, guys and girls, is over 15,000 pigs in that time. So that's the actual base number of pigs. That's a staggering number to a researcher. You know, so we've got a number
3,000 a month, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's a number of we've got a number of levels on which to reach people. There'll be some crew out there just going 15,000 in 5 months. That could take them 10 years to get. You know, so
yeah.
You know,
so that's basically if that's 3,000 a month. So roughly that's 100. You guys are researching 100 carcasses a day.
Yeah.
On those numbers.
So
30 days,
I mean, on the
3,000,
scale,
and you've been going 5 months. Wow.
Yeah. Well,
that's huge.
And see, we're still a little bit disappointed. We'd like to have more because there's more. We know there's more hunters out there. But what you can be too close to things. I'm too close to pig hunting, because when we're talking to, a microbiologist or something or other, those numbers are staggering to them. Just those raw numbers, just the 15,000. Because they're going, right, well, that could keep us working for 3 years. Just that number right there. Because by the time they do everything they want to do and process it all and come up with their conclusions. So it's the scale. That's what was told to us right at the beginning. What you guys don't understand is that your biggest selling point is the scale at which you can operate. Because government departments can't do this because, see, our guys are doing it for nothing. Hunters are doing it. Most of the hunters are doing it just to support the concept. Up to this point, the ear collectors have been doing it because there hasn't been any prizes. They've been doing it just to support the concept of research, and then we've taken that to the LLS in New South Wales and said, look, we've got this many people in New South Wales who are willingly taking samples now, who are active hunters, willingly taking samples now for no return other than community benefit. We think that's a short list of people who could work in contracting for you for feral pig control, trapping and whatnot. That's the sort of person that we could recommend to you as community-minded, active, capable, and that sort of thing. And that wasn't laughed out of the room, It's not necessarily something they're taking up, but it's an example of the sort of improved communication between disparate groups. Because we don't want to be fighting people. We don't want to be at war with anyone. We don't want to be pointing out everyone's errors and all this sort of stuff, like glass houses and all that sort of thing. We just want to find how do we see the benefits of, how do we have the benefits of hunting for the community recognised, and what language do we need to tell that story? So far, the data gathering appears to be working in that regard. So that's the biggest motivator for us.
Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. What we do is we generally talk to people who aspire to hunt.
Yes.
And so they're either, before hunting, or they've just started and they've either through their own mechanisms or through friends, and they want to know more. So we really much see ourselves as a conduit for them to go into these things. What I think you're doing is validating that experience and giving us the ability to validate it to a much bigger audience, and more importantly, a more important audience, if you will, like government and things like that, because there's no doubt that every day we're talking to people who want to hunt and don't have an entry point. So I think there's certainly an appetite for hunting as a recreational activity in society. It's a big part of that, though, or a big responsibility of that is to, change the psyche about hunting from a non-hunter's point of view. I mean, when you talk to some people about hunting, they still think about wake and fright. That's that movie and that famous Roo hunting. That's what they think it is. So they literally think that's what it is. So I think that what you're doing really changes or helps change that I suppose that script about what hunting is.
Well, I think it goes some way too to addressing the ethics of hunting too. So why does someone hunt?
Yeah.
The more positive things that a person can use to answer that question, the more confidently they can answer it. Because if they mightn't be able to put it into words, part of what we're attempting to do is to give people the words. We've been describing the people involved in our competition. It's a data gathering exercise, but we've sold it as a competition as Australia's most active environmentalists. You know, they're actively out, they're spending their own money, and they're achieving, great things. So they're providing data as well as the base level of hunting, which is killing an animal. So we think that there's still more things that will come out of this. We don't have it nailed down, but we have an interesting environmental project coming up where we hope to be able to announce it very soon, where we partner with a very well recognised organisation to support them in some work they're doing with an endangered ground nesting bird. So we're just waiting on the final tick on that. So we would be, in that case, we will be assisting with a breeding program, and we would provide on our site the call of this bird and some video of the bird and some explanations of where you're likely to see, some maps and things like that, and a way that if people hear that bird, that they can go, I've heard that bird, I know where that is, that was near this town, and then we can inform the people who are studying this, because there's a nice, it's the nexus between the ground nesting bird and the potential ravages of pigs, and it's in an area where pig hunters frequent, and we've had the discussion. In principle, we've got an agreement, but I don't want to go too quickly. But that'll be something I think that environmentalism is a multifaceted thing, and it's not just everything that's fluffy and nice, and we'll buy the stuffed numbat, and we've spent $20 and we've supported the save the numbats. A lot of environmentalism involves killing stuff. You've got to kill things that are damaging to the environment. Now that's not palatable for a lot of people. I'm not saying it should be for everyone, but the people who are out hunting are seeing lots of things and hearing lots of things, and I'd suggest have a more than average affinity with the natural world, and I think they're absolutely
totally agree.
People to be working on environmental projects. So in my personal work, I've got a project coming up, a tree planting project for a koala avenue. Because I work on this property, and there's koalas there. There's been a quoll sighted just recently, and so that's going to be a project I'm just absolutely going to love. There's a lot of koalas here, more koalas around Inverell now than there ever has been, certainly more than when I was a kid, and they appear to be spreading out. And there's lots of sightings, and I want to be a part of that. And I don't think I'm alone as a hunter in feeling like that about environmental projects.
No, definitely not.
But I think it gets people hijack the term environmentalist. It has a certain look to it, and I'd like to have hunters included in that mental picture of what an environmentalist might look like.
I've read it before, but there's a great I picked up this book. It's a 1920s, and it's Some Useful Australian Birds.
Yeah.
And it was put together by this guy who ran the Department of Agriculture in New South Wales, and he speaks about the value of placing an economic value on animals. He says that if you place an economic, and basically in the thinking at that time that a useful bird was an insectoid bird. So they were saying, don't kill all the birds on your farms because they eat insects. And he talks about, particularly native species, but he's saying that and they recognise that the value of it. If there's a value of it, then you treat it completely differently. If it has no value, then you actually, you don't, you try to minimize any kind of cost about it and otherwise ignore it. And, this kind of data, it places a value on things. And, it says, okay, this is telling us something. And it's the same with that, what you're saying about with, when you're in the bush as a hunter, because you're not kind of, you're immersed in the bush rather than just kind of sitting there looking at it, you do see so much and do experience so many things. I mean, the quoll video that I took at Nundle last year, I sent that to a couple of agencies because, they were talking about quolls. I said, well, look, here's some video of it. We got one on the side of a road, got about 30 seconds of video of a quoll. Where I hunt in up in the Brisbane Valley, there's a tree that if I know in 3 or 4, if I'm lucky, the koala will be up in the tree with me watching red deer. He sits in the tree there and things like that. So that I always think that there's so much that you see, and and that's why half the photos I've got aren't of hunting. Especially like, for instance, when you go to the Pilliga I didn't realise was a recognised, world recognised bird habitat area. So, there's bird trails through all those kind of things. So, all those kind of programs, I think, are just, they add so much weight to the idea that you're out there doing something and it has these significant roll-on effects. And so in doing that, you're not actually just consuming. You're not just kind of going, I'm going to go here and I expect all these facilities. No, I'm actually going to go somewhere where there's no facilities. I'm going to spend crap loads of my own money to do it. And you're all going to benefit from my activity. So again, I really like the idea of that, and I'll be very happy to see that if you get on board with that environmental program, because I think it just makes so much sense.
Yeah, well, I'll let
and it can expand out to so many different programs as well.
Yeah, it's
that's it. Makes so much sense,
Yeah. Well, see, if you've got people out there, because I'm a bit excited because I searched around, I found these calls, because when we were talking about it, we had a couple of options, and then this ground nesting, when we're in the discussion, then the ground nesting bird came up. And I went, oh, ground nesting, that's surely under immediate threat from a pig. And they said, oh, yeah, but it's often to, the country doesn't always suit a pig, going, right, yeah, but, rah, rah, rah. And then, we've got videos of the project, and we've got video, the breeding project that these people are working on, and all that sort of stuff. And in my head, I've just... I had a background in publishing and things like that, and so I'm visualising sort of what the website might look like, or the whatever, and I can just see this sort of path through it of, well, here's a bird, this is what they look like, static shot, little bird. This is what it sounds like, this is where, so we're going to put money into it as an association on behalf of our members. This is where the money's being spent doing this. And it'll be a day, at some stage where a few of us are planting things or digging things up or whatever they want us to do. This is some of the actual work. But the main thing will be that call, to be able to play the call, and if we can have it downloadable, so they can download it and have it on their phone, so that they can maybe compare. Now, I heard that. It's supposed to sound like this, cluck, 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 right out there. That's it. That's the same sound. And just get them to, they don't have to give up their hunting spot or anything like that. But one of the things you said, conduit, before, that's a real important word in our world. We're trying to be a conduit between the hunting community and everyone else. So likewise, we can be in the same way that we can take the message from the regulatory authority or something like that and say, right, this is what the government's trying to achieve, and explain what it is. If we agree with it, we can explain it to a group of people. But we can also use that same conduit to go, this bird needs help, this is what it should sound like, or this is where it could be, but it could be anywhere from, the Northern Territory to Victoria. Our hunters are more likely to come back to us and say, we've heard that. We heard that in this part of the state.
Yeah.
We can have that conversation without revealing the property name or anything like that, because that would be a function for the property owner to approve. But we think that they'll trust us more to give that detail to, rather than a public servant they don't know. Nothing against public servants. I was one for a short time. But anyway, not a very successful one. But we think we can operate in that way on this project as well. Pig hunters are very sensitive about where they hunt, and I had to have this discussion the other day when I was at one of these pest advisory meetings, and it was, right, why don't you get the hunters to use Feral Scan? And that's an app where people can log in where they've seen or killed or whatever, a pig, a deer, a fox or whatever. And I said, our guys are never going to use that. And they said, why not? And I said, well, they don't trust it.
Don't give away
well, what don't they trust? And I said, well, there's two key things. One is, if they're on a property as a guest of a landholder, they're not going to assume that landholder wants any information to ever leave that property. It's the same as if you go into someone's yard to mow their lawn, you're deaf, dumb and blind. While you're in there, you just mow the lawn. They could be having some bacchanalian bloody festival, but you keep that job and that access by keeping your mouth shut. You just go in, do the job. I'm out. Good, thank you. Give me the $100. We're away. Likewise, with a pig hunter going on to, or any hunter going on to private land, no landholder wants their business discussed, what they're doing, how they're doing it, who's there. People misunderstand that about landholders. That's their entire backyard. It might be 5,000 acres, but that's their backyard, and so they're protective about it. Doggers and other hunters, but I absolutely know doggers better. They will not talk about a landholder, what's on a landholder property. They will not pinpoint things unless the landholder specifically says, I want you to do that. And then they would give information on where that bird was. But if they filter it through us, we can say, all right, okay. And these guys say, no, but we need to talk to the property owner. Okay, so we'll go back here. And we'll just do that. Like, we're happy to do that. It's all for the little bird, But these are the roles that we can engage hunters in, and as a body that's representing our members, that we choose this job. It's a volunteer job, but we choose to do it because we feel like there's a bigger picture. Like, I want to see hunting flourish. I want my grandchildren to be sitting around as 30, 40 and 50-year-olds going, gee whiz, thank God those old bastards did this, so that we've still got this thing, this way of life. That only happens if we all work now.
Most definitely. Yeah, I'm 100% behind you. I'm hunting so my boys can hunt. That's what it is. We're putting this together, so I'm 100% behind that. One of the key reasons why I want to help more people hunt, because if there's more people hunting, then there's more weight behind the hunting fraternity, and that means there's a better chance that my boys will be part of that one day. I never have liked this exclusivity approach to hunting, and if that means that I have to tell people where I have success in state forests because it motivates them to do that, then I'm happy to do that. It's public land. If I can help them be successful on public land, go for it, because the more successful they are, the more they'll participate, the more they'll spend, the more weight we'll build as a community, and the more chance my boys will be hunting when they're my age, if not older.
Well, that's right.
So I'm 100% behind that.
Yeah, I'm a great believer in sharing that knowledge, and I think that's the future of all hunting. That exclusivity is just based on fear. people are afraid that they won't be special if someone else learns something, and I would just see that as weak, because it's a weakness in a person.
Yeah, I've never accepted. I think personally, I think more heads are better than more heads come up with better solutions than one.
Mm.
You've got to have young, and as I said before, the people that we are talking to, I think they'll actually see the value in this as well. I think there's a real value in trying to, and we'll do the best we can to communicate it out. I think there's a real value in getting as many people as we can involved, and they'll be rifle. They're primarily they'll be rifle and bow.
Good.
We had Michael Granger on recently, who's a bowman, and Michael's a guy that we spoke to when he first started out. We actually spoke to him after like a 3-year journey to get his first buck with the bow.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys who's just put in the time, and it'd be interesting to ask him what he's seen and what recorded, because the amount of work and amount of forests he's explored to get himself in a position to be able to get a buck is pretty remarkable. So he'd be a very knowledgeable and very experienced guy to talk to as well. So he's getting him involved and those kind of people involved would be great. And again, it gives you agency. It gives you a bigger arm in the arm wrestle.
Yeah, it's
you certainly do.
It's the same. It's the same as what's termed blind research, and you might know what that is, but others might not. But blind research is where a body like a university just starts looking at something. It might look at look. I live with a crystal type person, but here's a crystal. So they're everywhere here. Anyway, it's doing whatever it's doing,
mate. But we bought crystals from your town and brought them back here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we've got great crystals. So, but a university, if blind research might be that they look at that crystal and then they spend a year just poking around with it. And people would say, well, why are you doing that? We don't know. But that's how a lot of massive breakthroughs take place, is through blind research. People just do things, hope just to see what they'll find out. That's kind of what we're doing here. We think that this is a reasonable blueprint. It's got a reasonable chance of success, but we don't know what form that success will take. So it could be more hunting. It could be, grants. It could be smarter people joining the committee. Like I'm here because I think I can contribute something. I would be more than happy to hand over to fresher faces to carry this sort of work on and come up with better ideas. But to come up with better ideas, you've got to have an idea in the first place. Someone to go, oh, actually, if you did that left-handed instead of right-handed, that might work better. So we don't know where this is going. We've committed to do a certain thing. We theorise that we'll do it again next year. I don't know how we'll do that, just because we'll be worn out. It's 50 or 60 hours between two of us just to keep it going.
Well, there's right. You've got literally 1 minute break before it cranks up again, Sam.
Oh yeah.
So
we
11:59, December 31, and then it just falls over again. A year is a.
Now we talked about some supporters and things like that. So we've got people who've been involved so far this year who are already saying, you want to keep doing this, we're up for it for another year. And that's terribly encouraging. If ever you've been involved in running a school raffle, anything, if people are saying, sweet, we're with you, we'll go with you, you suddenly feel bigger and stronger and more determined, you're not alone in this sort of quest. So I think there's something really good here. I don't know if we've got it right yet or not. I'm a reasonably arrogant sort of a bloke, but I'm not arrogant enough to think that we've got this nailed down. Even in our reports that we send out every month, we just say, don't trust these figures. Wait until these are indicative. but wait until they're examined by a properly educated, properly qualified statistician who can tell you what they actually mean, because, we're just pig hunters. We're just gathering them up in a big lump. So we keep all the raw data, so every month there's the raw data before we look at it and get it in alphabetical order and start going, oh, what's this add up to? And so we keep the original so that when it's time for someone to look at it, we'll just go, right, this is what we've done. However, here is the original stuff over here. That's as it came out of the machine. And in the first month, say, for instance, in the first month, we just thought people would write in what state they were in and then what local government area. But people will go NSW, for instance, in all capitals. Some people will go NSW in lowercase. Some people will write New South Wales. Some people will write NS Wales. So when you're trying to line them up, you're going through your Excel sheet and going, oh, right, we'll do this, line them up. They don't line up. The variation for every state was staggering. We just went, right, well, that's a muck-up. So we had to go back in and re-engineer the little form so that there wasn't any variation. So then when we're trying to count, so in some of our stuff we say, figures for January aren't available because we haven't had time to go back and just get all that in line, So there's things we've learnt along the way, and we might, questions might change in the last 6 months, because if someone comes up with a really good idea, we might go, okay, well, we've got 6 months of data like this. Let's get 6 months of data plus, how many budgies did you see or something, whatever. Because we want it to be flexible, and we want to be able to find what's the right formula.
It's interesting that, when you think about the numbers, because I doubt if, the news poll data that they release, about how Australians vote and who's going to be the next Prime Minister and such, would have anywhere near as a bigger data pool as you got. And that stuff's, that's supposedly manna from heaven. There is the gospel.
Yeah.
And they're probably nowhere near dealing with the data pool, and also and that's mostly via telephone, ringing up people. You guys have got probably a bigger data pool to select from, and you're probably asking them more. Well, they're providing you the answers rather than you asking them the questions. So they're probably giving you better data, so it's actually quite, I nearly failed stats in uni. So I kind of know about stats, but I nearly failed it. Just got through. So yeah, that would be if you can get that together, that's a significant. Any researcher would jump at that. That's you're getting in the hundreds of thousands. That's fantastic numbers. And in terms of a percentage of the population to it, be quite high too. Because generally, like when they do a poll about Australia, they talk to 50 people and they extrapolate that out to 25 million. You'd be a much higher percentage in terms of accuracy too.
We were told, I suppose people hear this, that 1,000 is a statistical significant number. That you get 1,000 respondents to something, that's considered gold. That's believable. And we're way past that. It's but there's that sort of the cultural cringe thing a little bit, because we're working in a field here that we don't know, we don't have any experience in. We're just going, is this right? Are we doing it the right way? And we're sort of, I guess each month we become more reassured, because we keep saying to people, challenge it. Like if you challenge it by all means, have a crack, do whatever, just rip it apart. And so far, so good. And that's encouraging, because it'd be like just building a house. You just, we think you'd have to build it like this, and you get it inspected regularly, and they go, yeah, that's all good. And you go, what, really? Like, that's a bit how it feels. It's it's sort of, I don't know. I don't want to sound like we're not confident. Like you've got to have a certain, well, I said arrogant earlier. You've got to have a certain level of arrogance just to leap into something like this, and we just leapt in. And there were people saying, "Oh, it's not perfect yet. Wait." I said, "No, we said January 1. We'll start on January 1. In we go, and we sink or swim, and that's a good way to learn to swim." So we've just been swimming like a bastard ever since.
Yep.
And even if it's wrong, it'll be closer to right than we were at the beginning of the year. If you know what I mean, like.
And if it's with those numbers, even if there is errors in it, you'll have the ability to adjust. You can't, you can't adjust if you don't have anything in the first hand, but you'll be able to adjust. And as you said, you might go, "Oh, we overestimated it. We gave it, 50%. No, it's 45%. Oh, so we're talking not 150,000. We're talking 145,000. That's still, amazing numbers."
Yeah.
It's like winning the lotto. You go, "Oh, I didn't get 100%. You got 90. Oh, okay. Oh, you'll get by."
Yeah. Well, I think it's. I'm a hand on a hot plate learner, as my mother used to describe me as that, and specifically because that's what I'd do as a kid. She'd say, "That's hot," and I'd just, "Is it?" And then, to my eternal shame, I'd try it with the other hand, just to see if that was right, or whether I just got the hot bit. I teach firearm safety, and so I tell the students different stupid things I've done as a younger man and not so much younger man, cutting bits off and sticking things into me and all sorts of stuff, because I am much better at doing things and finding out like that. My mind doesn't function well in a classroom. So I could have had 6 months training in how to do this, and I would have got the picture probably in the first 5 minutes, and then sat there trying to think up jokes to tell for the rest of the 5 months, plus however many hours it would be up to that last 5 minutes. I'd be disruptive. It's my nature. But if I've got something in front of me like this, especially when people were saying, "Oh, you won't be able to do that," and I just think, really? Like, how long have you known me? I'm not going to quit, or we'll just make it happen. I've got tremendous support from people who are helping, and they're like this. We speak daily and several times a day. "I had an idea. Is it a stupid idea? Yes, possibly, but here it is." And "Oh, that's not too stupid," and we'll just be swapping ideas and playing all day, and everyone's working. But it's it's just, if you see that call, this could be a great thing, or they could have just got a great bit of news from a new person who's interested in this stuff, because this stuff's just going out. But I've only talked about New South Wales because that's the section I've taken on, because that's where I live. We've got the same thing happening in other states, and we're building networks there of people who have this growing interest in pig dogging, and like some people think we're buffheads and some people think we're Tarzan, and we're neither. We're just people going about a lifestyle choice we've made, and trying to show that we can add a bit of value to the community. So if we achieve anything along that
I think
path,
that's
we'll be happy.
I like that analogy. I think that's a great place to bring to a close. It's a Venn diagram. You get a buffhead, and you get Tarzan, and then you get people who are interested in it, and right in the middle, there you are. You're right in the middle.
Yeah.
Those three things. Yeah, I think that's fantastic.
So it'll be a nice.
So, any final words, Ned? Anything you want to promote or say before we bring it to a close?
I'll just say
give you the last word.
Next year, it is 50 years since I was first taken onto a property I still hunt now, taken pig chasing by Ian Colley and Gobby O'Brien. And it would be a marvellous thing for me to feel when I hit that 50-year mark of, I haven't stopped from that day on, of being fascinated by dogs and pigs and things. And still hunting now, albeit slower and in a buggy. But in that 50th year, I'd love this to have taken us somewhere to some sustainable level of acceptance and understanding and respect in the Australian community. That and I'll be happy. That would make me just ecstatic. So that's my target. I'm trying to
Okay.
can do that.
There's a 50th anniversary present. We got to work on that one.
Yeah, rightio.
Okay, Ned, mate. As always, I love this chat. We don't do it enough, to be honest. Thank you for sharing all the information. And as we said, we're going to promote the hell out of this. We'll try and get some rifle shooters in there and try and add to the data pool. I know that we ourselves are going to be doing it because we've got, we've got a hunt planned in the following week, and then I'm in Pilliga with my boy.
We've got territory.
And we've got territory, so we've got 3 good chances. And there's pigs up in the Brisbane Valley that I'm always chasing. So we've got plenty of opportunities to add to data, and I think we'll promote the hell out on the Facebook anyway, because I think a lot of our public land guys shoot pigs as as part of their hunting experience, and we can capture that as well. So, mate, thanks for your time. Much appreciated. And as always, enjoyed the conversation.
And just on that, Ned, so if the guys want to join up, where do they need to go?
Everything's on our website, apdha.org.au, and they've got pretty simple buttons. Join us. Just hit that button. It's we're like a lot of people. We've got the $20 million public liability, specifically covering dogs. We've got plenty of insurance. We've got a few other projects, including a version of Farmer Wants a Wife that we're launching this coming year. But it's Farmer Wants a Pig Hunter. So we'll.
Farmer Wants a Pig Hunter.
So
had me worried there for a sec. I thought, what the hell?
Yeah. Well, we don't judge anyone. So long as they're interested in pigs, they're on our team. We got a million things that we've got planned for the next couple of years. Because it's we're very motivated at the moment. We've got a good membership. We're very engaged with them, and we're very lucky to have them. So, but I wanted to say, I really appreciate what you guys are doing too. It's an intelligent approach to hunting. It's a constructive approach to hunting. It's something that we can support as an association. We see what you're doing all the time, and you're tremendous advocates for ethical hunting, and that's right up our alley. So appreciate the opportunity to get on here and talk about our little project.
And I'm even a member.
Yep. Yes. Oh, yeah.
I've even joined the. I'm even a member. Okay, that's it. So
we will allow in almost anyone.
That's right. Like that's as Twain said, if they accept me, then maybe no places you go to. Okay. Thanks very much, Ned. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Ned. Appreciate it.
Thank you.